Hello everybody. Today I have a different variation of the Smite build. This is the Thunderlord Smite build. Basically, we are casting Smite as much as possible. We're not worrying about fissures. We're doing crit Smite, all the damage up front, tons of AoE, right? So this is really good for clearing monos. It still does bosses quite decently. And it's a ton of fun, I think. I think the playstyle is more fun. Fissure Smite is more powerful, but the playstyle of this is a lot more fun. It did the same corruption. It clears monos a little bit better, so you guys should check it out. Let's talk about how this build works, right? So this is how it plays. We want to nuke our mana again, and if you look, our cast speed is a lot faster, so it's easier to nuke it. And then you want to cast Smite, ideally from melee range for max damage, which is why we're using Bastion of Honor again. But if you need to stay at a distance, you can cast it from range over here, and you'll still get a decent amount of damage output. So how does it work? How is this build all coming together? We are using Palaris' Sacred Light. We get the melee damage for attunement and spell damage for strength. So ideally we're using the spell damage part. This doesn't really use that much melee damage. And we're using 41% chance to cast Smite additionally on 2 targets when you cast it directly. So we are casting Smite directly. So we get AoE by casting it and it hits other targets, and the lightning bolts can hit the same target. So that's kind of nice. And then we have a 35% chance to cast Smite on melee hit, which we are turning Healing Hands into. So since Healing Hands is a melee hit and we're casting a lot, we have an additional chance to cast multiple smites on the same target. So we're casting a lot of extra smites this way. In addition, we have the direct cast, double cast smite bonus, which is nice. And we are doing a hit, so we want the hit damage versus ignited. And yeah, that's about it. And then we have lightning bolts increasing our mana cost. So that's smite turning into this holy aura and stuff, because we made changes to the rest of the build as well. Like I said, we're doing conflagration for the hit damage to smite. We're pulling out of fissure, and then we're going into lightning bolts. So pretty straightforward. Holy aura, we pulled out of the ward retention sort of aspect because we're now block capped once again. So we have a little bit better defenses since we're going to be playing in melee range a lot, and we're casting more often. So we're using more of Twisted Heart. So we're generating more ward. So we don't really need the ward retention and ward per second from this. So we can focus more on our attack, right? Because we are crit based, so we like the crit chance and we like the crit multi that we get from here alongside the global lightning damage and lightning pen. So those things are nice. And we have a little bit of ignite chance, right? This is all the ignite chance we need to make our build work. Then we have Healing Hands, still melee, still moving. We are putting more points into upfront healing because this is our only source of healing. We removed our leech, so we're just using Healing Hands healing, and we always get it no matter what range we're doing it in because it's a melee attack, so it will always affect us. We are also using Symbols of Hope, block chance, damage, extra symbols. We don't really need the extra crit chance because we're already crit capped, but if you need it, you can go here. We're not really doing fire damage, so I'm not too invested in extra fire damage per symbol, but you could put this for an additional 15 fire damage. It just wouldn't scale with all our more lightning damage that we've scaled. And we've scaled a lot of more lightning damage. And then Abyssal Echoes, we've removed the points from crumbling for the damage over time. We're still using it to nuke our mana and give us the damage buff with blinded. But since we're now on hit, we care about putting those points back into armor shred. So we've put it back into like the extra armor shred nodes. Okay, so that's the skill changes. Item changes. We are using Polaris once again with crit multi. I have a better version of Polaris actually, a 3LP that I'm going to farm for to see how far I can push this build. But for now, we're using this and it's very powerful, clearing 700 corruption. We've brought back the Peak of the Mountain for the crit chance. We don't need the leash because we're healing from, what is it called? We're healing from Healing Hands, so we don't need that. Same devotion. Basically, devotion scales our cast speed. Since we no longer have to worry about uncapping our cast speed, we can get it from other sources as well. So we have the 1% increased cast speed per smite per 2 missing mana over here, 2% missing mana. So it goes to a maximum of 50%. So normally we're hovering at like 40 to 45% increased cast speed, right? And then we're using Bastion of Honor because we want to be in melee range to use our Healing Hands procs. And since we're going to be in melee range, we're going to get use out of this. And I think right now with the 33% and the 61 armor, we're at 94% block chance, which is pretty close to capped, right? So I'm pretty happy with that. We brought back Orion's Descent for extra chance to cast Smite on hit, max 6 per 10 seconds. So we should be able to cap this out in like 2 to 3 seconds and then cast a potion in order to get that back. It also, there was also the chance of using the crit belt, but I felt we had enough crit chance and our crit multi is decent, 370%. Could be a little higher, but it's decent. Same ranks as before. Strength gloves now. because we wanted to get our strength up, and we love mana on there. Block effectiveness is also nice. Same boots. And then this Twisted Heart, we have a +4 to Smite because now we care a lot about the points in Smite. We want to get 5 points into Conflagration, and this takes 8 points to get into. We want 5 points into Sacrifice. We want to get out to this lightning area to get the lightning bolt spread. So ideally we will do all that. And then with our extra points, the more extra points we get, the more we put into Deep Impact, right? So that's our point spread with direct cast. Because we're not Fissure is a little cheaper on the point distribution because we're now hit. We need a lot of points to make it work, right? So I got a +4 on Healing Hands to my Twisted Heart. So that's how we're working over there. That's the itemization. I didn't change the idols. Spell damage wherever possible. Ward per second, sure. And crit multi wherever possible. I still have a damage over time one. I can probably replace that and then crit multi over here. But I'm not too worried about it. Idols are the same. Okay, so let's cap out the build discussion with the passives. We need attack speed and cast speed wherever possible. So we are going into Blade Master for the maximum attack speed we can get. Because we're wielding a sword, we're getting as much cast speed, 30% additional cast speed from here. And then because we want to get to Blade Master, we need to put 5 points into Relentless. It'll give us a little bit more damage and immunity to stun after we've recently been stunned. So that's kind of nice defensively. But basically, we're just doing it to get to Blade Master. Then for Paladin, we didn't get the maximum amount of lightning damage and lightning pen over here because we had lightning pen already from Holy Aura. And we didn't get the amount of lightning pen over here because we already have it, right? So we're getting lightning pen from a bunch of different places. It would be good to get more of if I had more points. We went 5, 5, 1, 1 just so I could get to Heaven's Bulwark for the extra base spell damage because we really like that. And the reduced bonus damage for taken from crits because we don't really have that much in the build. We also have 5 points into Sanctuary Guardian for the cast speed and the all res, very handy. 5 points into Holy Precision for the crit chance, crit multi, and base critical strike chance, which is huge. Then 5 points into Covenant of Protection. We want to get 1 point for Covenant of Dominion again. And then I still have the 5 points into Prayer Ages. I think you guys don't have to do this, but I'm doing it because I'm ward based. If you guys don't run, If you guys don't run Wall of Nothing, right? If you run a different body armor and you aren't converting all your endurance threshold into ward decay threshold, like just a base body armor, then I would probably recommend moving the points out of this because the endurance threshold is nice. But if you remove all the points out of this, you have 6 extra points. You can put 2 into Reverence of Duality, 1 into Covenant of Dominion, that gives you 9 extra points. Then you can put 3 into Conviction, right? So you can get 6 extra points remaining. You can put that into Defiance. You can put it into Dedication. You can put it into Holy Precision. There's a lot of different places you can put it into, right? You can put it into Valor. You can also go into the Void Knight tree, and we love Dark Maw because it gives us increased health, but you can also put 5 points into Doom Knight to get that plus health and strength and the more armor, so that is value. And then when you get the 5 extra points here, you get an extra 5% critical strike multiplier because we are using Void Corruption, right? So we have 20 points in here right now, but if you want, that's a good alternative. Okay, this video is going to be long because I am going to mention this. Before, I've added a monolith at 700 corruption, and it is filled with Gorgons and Diamond Matrons and Champions and Exiled Mages. It has the Nemesis in there. All the events are in there, basically. It's a very scary monolith echo. We did the tomb as well. So it's a very spooky echo. And I would say this build did very well. It showed off all the defensive capabilities. It showed off how good the ward is for our effective HP. It showed us how good all the endurance threshold is. I don't know if we're still capped on endurance, 59%. So we're really close to capped on endurance, right? Like basically 1% off. We have 5k armor. We have a pretty good chunk of block effectiveness. Like the defenses on this are great. The AoE is great. The damage is great. We have good strength and good attunement, right? So all our stat-wise, this is a very well-rounded build. Single target's good, AoE is good, defenses are good, mobility is good. I would say, out of the Smite builds I've covered so far, this is the most well-rounded for pushing corruption. This is the one I'm most proud of, right? Because it uses the synergies the best. Obviously, we didn't have like the helmet, Seed of a Kidrasil, that would have made our defenses a little bit better, but we needed the crit. And obviously we don't have the single target that Fissure and what was it? That multi-strike had, but you know, it was pretty good. I'm going to explore a different multi-strike setup than the one I initially did because I think there's something there, but we'll see. So very proud of this build, very happy with it. This is the build I recommend if you guys are going to play Smite. This is awesome. I haven't tried the Javelin stuff. I might try that at a later date. I'm going to try a different multi-strike setup and then go on to a couple other classes before I come back to Paladin. So very excited for the upcoming builds. Peace out.
So you finally returned to me, and with a guest. But first, prove yourselves worthy.
Aberroth! Face us yourself!
Harbingers, entertain my dear sister for a moment.
Traveler, don't worry about me!
Such wasted potential. All of this would